So, dear friend, today we will see the cervical sympathetic chain. Cervical sympathetic chain. Now, this cervical sympathetic chain is a part of the sympathetic trunk, and this sympathetic trunk extends from the base of the skull. Suppose these are the occipital condyle, and this is the first vertebra. Okay, here. And these are the other vertebrae here. So these are the vertebrae, cervical vertebrae. I'm not drawing all the vertebrae because the space is short. So these are the vertebrae. Like this. Clear? And last is this is the coccygeal vertebra. Okay, here. The cervical, sympathetic trunk is located starting from the base of the skull. Just I am drawing the blue color. Okay, here. This is the ganglia. Another ganglia. This is ganglia. Between the two vertebral bodies here, you know that the intervertebral foramen is there, and from the intervertebral foramen, the spinal nerve comes out. And this spinal nerve comes out, they are attached with the ganglia. Okay, so this is here on the both sides. These are the ganglia on the both sides of the vertebral bodies in a whole vertebral column extending from the base of the skull up to the coccygeal vertebra. Okay, here. So these are the ganglia, and these ganglia are connected to the interganglionic tract here. Okay, this is the interganglionic tract. All the ganglia are connected to each other. Okay, like this. And the both sides of the ganglionic, okay, ganglionic trunk, they are connected in front of the coccygeal vertebra. Here, this is the opposite side of the ganglionic trunk. Here, and they both are connected in front of the coccygeal vertebra by the tuberculum impar here. Okay, so this is the whole sympathetic chain. And the cervical sympathetic chain is a part of the sympathetic chain which extends from the base of the skull up to the 7 cervical vertebra here. So today we will discuss this part, the cervical sympathetic chain. But before discussing the cervical sympathetic chain, first you should know how this sympathetic chain is formed here. Okay, how the sympathetic chain is formed and how it is connected to the spinal nerves. Okay, look here. This is the, suppose, here, this is the cross section of the spinal cord. Like this. Okay, one segment. Suppose I will draw the 2 or 3 segment here. Another segment here. This is the anterior medial fissure. These are the dorsal root. Other segment here, fissure, and this is the dorsal root, ventral horn, and like this. Okay. Now, how the sympathetic chain is formed? As you know, the sympathetic system is also known as the thoracolumbar system. Okay, thoracolumbar system means the nerve fiber arises from the thoracic segment of the spinal cord and the upper 2 or 3 lumbar spinal segment here. Okay, so in this region, the thoracic region and the lumbar 1 or 2 lumbar region, there are the in place of here the anterior horn, posterior horn, there's an extra lateral horn is there. Okay, here. So this is the lateral horn. Okay, here. This is the lateral horn. In the thoracolumbar outflow here, in the thoracolumbar region. Okay, this is the lateral horn. Okay, this lateral horn. What's happened now in the lateral horn? Look here now. This is the ventral nerve root. This is the dorsal nerve root. And this is the dorsal root ganglia. Both root unite to form the one spinal nerve. Okay, here. Same thing in the another segment. This is the dorsal root ganglia. Dorsal root unite with the ventral root to form the one spinal nerve. Another segment here. This is the dorsal root, ventral root unite to form the spinal nerve. Okay. Now what's happened? Look here. Here, the cell body of the sympathetic nervous system. Okay. As you know, the sympathetic and parasympathetic system is made of the two type of the nerve fiber, preganglionic and the postganglionic nerve fiber. Preganglionic nerve fiber, the cell body of the sympathetic system is located here in the lateral horn, okay, of the spinal cord in the thoracolumbar segment. Okay. Now from this lateral horn, the nerve fiber comes out of the ventral nerve roots and then enter into the spinal nerve, particular spinal nerve like this here. Okay, here. And then comes out for the intervertebral foramen. As you know, the ventral root and the dorsal root unite to form the one spinal nerve at the intervertebral foramen. And when this intervertebral foramen, this spinal nerve, particular spinal nerve comes out, this fiber of the preganglionic sympathetic comes out for this spinal nerve here. Okay, here. Now, after this interesting here, look here. Now, when this comes out and the nerve come out here, suppose this is the further here extension. Okay, green color fiber is a sympathetic preganglion. Now, when this nerve fiber comes out for the spinal nerve, these nerve fiber leave this nerve, okay, by the side of the vertebral column, okay, and they end here by the side of the vertebral column. Okay, in the one case. Okay, another case here, what's happened? Either these fiber, when they comes out here, okay, they do not end. Either they ascend here. Okay, here, like this. Okay, or either they descends like this. Okay, here. So these fiber, after coming out from the spinal nerve, either they end nearby the vertebra, okay, or either this fiber not end here, this fiber ascends, okay, here, okay, so through the ganglia. And now what's happened? The postganglionic fiber here, okay, these are the preganglionic fiber, the postganglionic fiber here, okay, they start and again enter into the here the spinal nerve and then passes through the spinal nerve, okay, and these fiber now they supply the either the smooth muscle, okay, or either the smooth muscle of the vessels, or either the piloerectal muscle, okay, here. So look here. Now, so this is the ganglia here, okay. What structure here form here? This is the ganglia here. Clear? Just a black color here. Here. This is the ganglia, okay. Where the preganglionic fiber end and the postganglionic fiber start and then passes. Now this ganglia is connected to the spinal nerve by the two root. One root is here where the preganglionic fiber end, and one root is in the postganglionic fiber start and again enter into the spinal. Now, so what's happened now? This root is here where the preganglionic fiber connected to the here the sympathetic ganglia. This is known as the white rami. White rami communicans. Okay, here. While this rami here, the red color fiber which is showing here, this root here, this is known as the gray rami communicans here. This one. gray rami communicans. Why this is white rami communicans, gray rami communicans? Because these fiber, the preganglionic fiber, are the myelinated fiber. So there's a white in color, so white rami communicans. Why these fiber are gray rami communicants, are non-myelinated fiber, and that's why they are the gray rami communicants name given here. Okay. So this is the one case here. Now another case I told you here. Suppose these fiber do not end here. Okay, here these fiber here passes. Okay, do not end here. It ascends upward. Okay, passes through the ganglia, nearby ganglia, and ascends upward here, and they end into the further ganglia here. Ganglia which is situated above the level of the spinal nerve. Okay, here. So these fiber end here. Okay, here. So this is the another nerve roots. Okay, here. Sorry, preganglionic fiber end here, and the postganglionic fiber start and enters into the spinal nerve and here. Clear? So in this case now what you are saying here, this ganglia is connected to the spinal nerve only one root. Okay, here one root which is known as the gray rami communicans, not the white rami, because here this is the white rami. Okay, here this is interganglionic tract here, and this is the gray rami. So this is, so what's happened? Why I am saying you this here? Because this is the case in the cervical region here. In the cervical region there is no sympathetic fiber comes from the cervical segment. They come only from the thoracic segment here. So how the fiber passes the cervical sympathetic ganglia? So these fiber which come from the thoracic region here, thoracic segment, they ascends upward. Okay, here in this region, and they end here. And then these fiber, suppose these are the postganglionic fiber, and this fiber then enters into the respective here the spine, cervical spinal nerve. Okay, here. Clear? They are connected like this. Yeah. So this is, so in the cervical region, you can understand here. In the cervical region, there is only the gray rami communicants, not the white rami communicants. Okay. Same thing occur in the lower lumbar region, in the sacral region and the coccygeal region. Here in this region, in the lower lumbar means L4, L5, and the sacral region, there are no sympathetic segments in the lumbar region. Okay. Only the lumbar segment, sympathetic segment extend up to L2 or L3. So how the sympathetic chain then extend into the lower lumbar region and the sacral region and the coccygeal region? Because these fiber, the preganglionic fiber which comes out from the either the L1, L2 or above T1, T12. So these fiber when comes out for the same spinal segment like L1, L2. So these fiber they descends downward here. Okay, descends downward towards the L4, L5, and then end here. Okay, they end here. Yeah. And then the postganglionic fiber start here. Okay, here, and then they enter into the L4. Suppose the L4 nerve. Okay, suppose this is the L4 nerve. So these fiber, the postganglionic fiber, enters into the L4 nerve or L5 or S1, S2. So again here in the lower lumbar region and the sacral region, this sympathetic ganglia are connected to the lower lumbar nerve or the sacral nerve only by the one rami, that is a gray rami communicants, not the white rami communicants. Okay, so this is the important fact you should know. Only the white and gray rami communicants present in the thoracic and the upper lumbar region. Okay, while in the cervical region, in the sacral region and the coccygeal region, they are only the gray rami communicants. Clear? Now, after this come on the cervical sympathetic chain here. Okay, now. Cervical sympathetic chain is made up of the three ganglia. There is the superior, middle and the inferior. Initially what's happened during the development, the ganglia are the same in number as in the spinal nerve. Suppose there are the 8 cervical nerve, the 8 ganglia are there. In thoracic region there are 12 ganglia, lumbar region 5 ganglia, sacral region the 5 ganglia. But after some time, few ganglia they are fused to each other. Okay, so the number of the ganglia are reduced in respect to the spinal nerves here. In the cervical region, there are the 8 nerves, but ganglia are the 3. Okay, so superior ganglia, middle ganglia, and the inferior ganglia. How they are formed? Look here. Suppose this is the first cervical vertebra. This is the second. This is C1, C2, this is C3, this is C4, C5, C6, and C7. Okay, here. Now, in the cervical sympathetic chain, there are the three ganglia, the superior ganglia, middle ganglia, and the inferior ganglia here. Look here. This is the superior ganglia. This is the middle ganglia. This is the inferior ganglia. Okay, here. The superior ganglia is formed by the fusion of the four ganglia, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Four ganglia unite to form the superior sympathetic cervical ganglia, while the fifth and sixth ganglia, okay, fifth and sixth ganglia unite to form the middle ganglia, while the lower, the C7, 8 nerve, which are related, here the C7, 8 nerve ganglia, they are unite to form the inferior ganglia, and inferior ganglia, sometimes they fuse with the T1 ganglia, the first thoracic ganglia, to become the stellate ganglia or the thoracocervical ganglia here. Okay, so these are the three ganglia, and these ganglia are connected to the interganglionic tract. As I told you here, these are the ganglia connected to the interganglionic tract here. So these are the interganglionic tract. Okay, here. Now, come one by one, each ganglia. First comes the superior cervical ganglia. This superior cervical ganglia is the largest ganglia of this sympathetic chain. Okay, here it is about 2.5 centimeter in size. 2.5 centimeter in size, and this ganglia is located just opposite to the C2 and C3 vertebra here. Okay, C2, C3 vertebra, this ganglia is located here. Clear? And this ganglia is here connected to the four cervical nerves, C1, C2, C3, and C4. This ganglia here also connected to the middle ganglia by this interganglionic tract. Clear? Now, what are the branches of this ganglia here? Okay. Superior cervical ganglia has the four lateral branches. These lateral branches enter into the superior four cervical nerves here. This C1, this is the C2, this is C3, and C4. Okay, here. So these branches enter into the respective four cervical nerves, passes through the cervical nerve, and when the cervical nerve reaches here in the cervical region or in the upper limb region, sometimes the fourth nerve unite to form the brachial plexus. So these nerves passes and supply the blood vessels and the glands of the skin here. Clear? So these are the four lateral branches. Clear? Now what about the medial branches? Okay, here the medial branches are the laryngopharyngeal branch here. This is the laryngopharyngeal branch which passes towards the larynx and unite with the vagus nerve and the glossopharyngeal nerve to form the pharyngeal plexus here, which supply the muscles of the pharynx and the blood vessel. Clear? So these are the medial branches and one branch. Second branch of the medial branch are these are the cardiac branches here. Okay, cardiac branches from medial side from the superior cervical ganglia here and descends downward, enters into the thoracic cavity here and supply and form the plexus. On the right side, this ganglia form the deep cardiac plexus, while on the left side here, the cardiac branches which come from the medial side, they form the superficial cardiac plexus here. Okay, so these are the medial branches here. Clear? Now, what about the anterior branches? Anterior branches here, they come here, this branch come here and passes through the common carotid artery here. Okay, so suppose here this is the C6 vertebra here. This is a common carotid artery and this is divided into the external carotid artery and the internal carotid artery. Okay. Clear? So when this external carotid artery ascends upward, okay, here, and this ascending branch, this anterior branch here passes, winds around this external carotid artery. Okay, here. And when this external carotid artery give rise to the branches, suppose the facial branch, okay, the lingual branch, then the maxillary branch also give, maxillary branch give out the middle meningeal branch. So wherever these branches passes, this nerve fiber they passes around these arterial branches and from the plexus around the arteries. So come to the facial artery here. So the facial artery here, this facial artery comes here. Okay, it gives rise to the branches of the face region. Along with the here, these sympathetic nerves, when passes around the facial artery, it gives rise to the nerve terminal to other submandibular ganglia, which supply the submandibular gland here. Same thing here, it ascends upward here, this artery, and around the maxillary artery here. Okay, here this superficial temporal maxillary artery here, and this nerve terminals here, nerve fiber which passes around the artery. Middle meningeal artery comes out here. Okay, here, and these nerve fiber also passes through the middle meningeal artery here, and this nerve fiber comes out and then passes through the auriculotemporal nerve and supply the parotid gland here for the aortic ganglia. This nerve fiber passes through the aortic ganglia first and passes through the auriculotemporal nerve, then supply the this parotid gland here. Clear? So wherever these arteries passes here, the nerve fiber of the sympathetic system winds around the arteries and then supply. So this is the anterior branch, first anterior branch here. Okay, here. Now what about the ascending branch here? Ascending branch here comes out for the ganglia. This is known as the internal carotid nerve. Okay, internal carotid nerve. This is the internal carotid nerve. Because this nerve passes around the internal carotid artery here. This is the internal carotid artery here. Okay, so these fiber pass around the internal carotid artery. Okay, here. So this fiber passes through the and ascends upward through the internal carotid artery. Now, whenever this internal carotid artery ascends upward, this internal carotid nerve give rise to the further branches to the certain structure. What are these branches? Look here. This internal carotid artery when passes through the carotid canal, it enters through the foramen lacerum and then enters to carotid canal. Here in this carotid canal, it gives rise to the caroticotympanic branches here. These are the caroticotympanic branches which pierce the carotid canal and enter middle ear cavity. And in the middle ear cavity, it forms the plexus along the glossopharyngeal nerve in the medial wall or around the promontory of the ear, and then from the plexus, sympathetic plexus here, and from the sympathetic plexus the nerve comes out, okay, and then supply the these glands inside the mucous membrane of the middle ear cavity or the this mucous membrane. Clear? So this is the here the caroticotympanic branches. Clear? Then another branches here from the carotid region in the internal carotid artery when ascends upward. Yeah, this gives rise to the communicating branches to the third, fourth, fifth, and the seventh nerve. Okay, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh nerve. These are the communicating branches comes out here. Okay, here, and they passes through the third, fourth, and fifth, and seventh nerve. When this artery ascends through that this carotid canal, in the carotid canal, what's happened? This again gives rise to the deep here petrosal branch here. Deep petrosal branch, which enter into the pterygoid canal and unite with the here the greater petrosal nerve. Okay, so this deep petrosal nerve unite with the greater petrosal nerve and to form the nerve of the pterygoid canal. Nerve of pterygoid canal. Okay, here, and through the nerve of pterygoid canal, it passes through the pterygopalatine ganglia and reaches into the orbit and supply the blood vessel of the orbit as well as the nerve to the lacrimal gland or the mucous membrane of the nose as well. Clear? So this is here the sympathetic fiber for passes through the deep petrosal nerve. Clear? Again here when this internal carotid artery ascends further upward inside the cranial cavity here, then in the cranial cavity it gives rise to the one branch, that is nervus coronary. Nervus coronary. What is nervus coronary here? This nervus coronary here, a branch which passes through the internal carotid artery, ascends upward, and this branch passes through the tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebri, through the straight sinus. When the straight sinus passes posteriorly, through the roof of the tentorium cerebelli, this nervous kundali passes posteriorly and supply the pineal gland. Pineal gland. Okay, so this branch here, which ascends upward here. Clear? Now, another branch which passes from the ophthalmic artery here. Ophthalmic artery enters here, which comes from the internal carotid artery, enters into the. So one branch from the here, suppose this is the ophthalmic artery here, and around the ophthalmic artery, these are the nerve fiber of the sympathetic plexus here, sympathetic here trunk, and passes for the ophthalmic artery, enters into the orbit and supply the blood vessels of the orbit. Even here, this branch here, which passes for the ophthalmic artery here, it also supplied the tarsal muscle. So this nerve fiber around the ophthalmic artery enters into the orbit and supply the smooth muscle here, the tarsal muscle and the tarsal gland here. Clear? So this is the how the branches, and ultimately last is the here, last when this internal carotid artery enters, as you know, it divides into the middle cerebral artery and the anterior cerebral artery here. Okay, and the middle cerebral artery, anterior cerebral artery, they also carry the plexus, the sympathetic fiber. Okay, here. Okay, here. And this middle fiber, this artery, the middle cerebral artery, the anterior cerebral artery passes in, carry the sympathetic fiber and supply the smooth muscle of these arteries, the middle cerebral and the anterior cerebral. And both sides of the internal cerebral artery, you know, here it is connected in the midline. So both sides of the fiber comes in the midline here. Okay, like this. So in this way, how the this superior ganglia give rise to the ascending branches. So these are the ascending branches. One here ascending branch, which passes through the internal carotid artery, which is the internal carotid nerve, and this internal carotid nerve ascends upward. And when this passes through the carotid canal, it gives rise to the coracotympanic branch. It also gives rise to the deep petrosal nerve, which enter into the pterygoid canal here, unite with the greater petrosal nerve. Okay, when further ascends upward, it gives rise to the one branch which passes around the ophthalmic artery, and from the ophthalmic artery supply the tarsal muscle and tarsal gland here. Then further upward here, it divides into the middle cerebral and anterior cerebral. Fiber runs around the middle cerebral and anterior cerebral and then supply the musculature of the middle and anterior cerebral. So these are the branches of the superior cervical ganglia. Okay, now after this come on the middle cervical ganglia. Okay, middle cervical ganglia. Middle cervical ganglia is made up of the union of the two ganglia. There is a fifth and sixth cervical ganglia here. Okay, fifth and sixth cervical ganglia, and this ganglia is situated at the transverse process of the C6 vertebra. Okay, at the transverse process C6 vertebra, this middle cervical ganglia is situated here, and sometime here this ganglia is situated, say here, it is situated above the loop of the inferior thyroid artery. This is the loop of the inferior thyroid artery. Clear? And behind the vertebral artery, the first part of the vertebral artery here, vertebral artery ascends upward here like this, and enters into the foramen transversarium of the C6 vertebra. So before it enters into the C6 vertebra, this ganglia is situated behind the vertebral artery, first part of. So this is the exact location of the middle cervical ganglia. Even here, this can also, you can understand, this is the scalenus anterior muscle, and this is the longus colli muscle. Okay, here. And here one triangle is formed with a scaleniovertebral triangle here. Okay, this is the scaleniovertebral triangle. The base is formed by the subclavian artery, and the apex is formed by the crossing of the two muscles, the scalenus anterior and the longus colli. So this ganglia, the middle cervical ganglia, is situated at the apex of this scaleniovertebral triangle, above the loop of the inferior thyroid artery, behind the first part of the vertebral artery. Okay, here. So this is the exact location of the middle cervical ganglia. Now, what are the branches of the middle cervical ganglia? Middle cervical ganglia give rise to the two type of the branches. One is the lateral branches. These are the two lateral branches which enters into the two spinal respective spinal nerve, the C5 and the C6 spinal nerve here. Okay, so they passes into the spinal nerve. Okay, here like this. So this is the lateral branches. Okay, then the medial branches. Medial branches, they come two branches. One is the thyroid branch here. Thyroid branch here passes through the inferior thyroid artery. Okay, winds around the inferior thyroid artery and passes along the inferior thyroid artery, enters into the here the supply the larynx as well as the thyroid gland here, and passes through the inferior thyroid artery, enters into the thyroid gland. So this is the inferior, this is thyroid branch, and another branch is here. This cardiac branch is here. Okay, these are the cardiac branches. These cardiac branches are descends downward and to form the deep cardiac plexus on the both side here. Both side of the middle cervical ganglia form the deep cardiac plexus. So two medial branches are here. One is the branch of the around the inferior thyroid artery, which is thyroid branch, and these are the cardiac branches. So these are the two branches of the middle cervical ganglia here. Now here in this important is here, middle cervical ganglia is connected to the inferior cervical ganglia by the two type of the fiber. One are the posterior fiber, one are the anterior fiber. Posterior fiber here, they arises from the middle cervical ganglia, winds around the here the vertebral artery first part, and then connected to the here the inferior cervical ganglia. These are the posterior fiber here. Another fiber are the anterior fiber. Anterior fiber descends downward here, winds around the first part of the subclavian artery here, okay, then ascends upward and then connected to the here the inferior cervical ganglia. And this branch is known as the ansa subclavia here. Okay, so this is the ansa subclavia which passes anterior to the first part of the subclavian artery and connected to the inferior cervical ganglia. So the middle cervical ganglia connected to the inferior cervical ganglia by the two branches, posterior branches and the anterior branches. Clear? So this is the middle cervical ganglia. What about the inferior cervical ganglia? Inferior cervical ganglia, as you know here, it is situated here, situation here. It is made up of the two ganglia, the C5 and the C8 ganglia, because the two cervical nerves are there, and the two ganglia initially were there, and these ganglia unite to form the inferior cervical ganglia, and this inferior cervical ganglia, I told you, sometimes unite with the first thoracic ganglia to form the cervicothoracic ganglia or the stellate ganglia. Okay, here, the stellate ganglia. Okay, stellate ganglia. Now, what is the location of this ganglia? Look here. If you see the location, this ganglia is situated between the transverse process of the C7 vertebra. Okay, this is the transverse process of the C7 vertebra. Okay, and the neck of the first rib here. This is the neck of the first rib. Okay, so between the neck of the first rib and the 7th cervical transverse process here, behind the apex of the lung. Okay, here the apex of the lung is there. Here. Behind the apex of the lung. Okay, and behind the medial to the costocervical trunk here. Here the costocervical trunk will come from the first part of the subclavian artery here, passes above the here. This above the apex of the lung, so it is related to the just lateral to the costocervical trunk. So this is the exact location of the cervical ganglia, the inferior cervical ganglia. If you see the relation of the inferior cervical ganglia covered anteriorly by the carotid sheath, okay, covered here. Then first part of the vertebral artery, passes anteriorly here, clear? Then the inferior thoracic artery here passes also anterior to this ganglia, inferior cervical ganglia, clear? So these are the relation, anterior relation. If you see the posterior relation, posteriorly it is related, and also anteriorly, no doubt, the apex of the lung here. Apex of the lung is anterior to this ganglia here, clear? Covered by the suprapleural membrane and the apex, pleura around the apex of the lung. So these are the structure related anteriorly, posteriorly. Posteriorly it is related to the 8th cervical nerve here. 8th cervical nerve passes posterior to this ganglia here. Okay, this is the H cervical now. Yeah, yeah. So this is related here posteriorly the H cervical now. So this is the inferior cervical ganglia. And now what are the branches? If you see the branches of the inferior cervical ganglia here give rise to the first the lateral branches, same to the spinal nerve. Suppose this is the inferior cervical ganglia. Okay, here it first gives rise to the lateral branches, two lateral branches towards the 7th and the 8th cervical nerve. Okay, these are the branches, lateral branches. Yeah, and what about the medial branches? Medial branches are the cardiac branches here. These cardiac branches again it descends downward. Okay, here. Red color. These are the cardiac branches, and these cardiac branches from the deep cardiac plexus. Now here you should understand here the cardiac branches which comes out here through the thoracic region here ascends upward, reaches to the middle ganglia and the inferior ganglia. Okay, here these ganglia here, these ganglia receive the branches from the T1 to T5 component here, from the T1 to T5. This black color here, T1 to T5 spinal segment. These branches, these cardiac branches comes out of the T1 to T5 segment, ascends upward to the interganglionic tract and the ganglia and reaches to the middle and the inferior cervical ganglia here. Okay, middle and the inferior cervical ganglia here, as well as the superior cervical ganglia. And these branches then descends downward for the superior, middle and the inferior cervical ganglia to form the middle deep cardiac plexus or the superficial cardiac plexus here. Clear? So these are the branches. Now, the sensory branches. If you see the sensory branches, it's very important. The sensory branches from the cardiac. Okay, here. These comes from the T2 and T5, T7, not the T5, T2, T2 to T7. These are the sensory branches which comes from the cardiac nerves here, passes through the middle and the inferior ganglia. It do not passes through the superior ganglia. Only sensory branches passes through the middle and the inferior ganglia. So these sensory branches passes from the middle and the inferior ganglia, reaches towards the interganglionic tract and enters into the thoracic segment T2 and T7 through the dorsal root and then through the dorsal root and sensory sensation relays in the dorsal root. And that's why it is said here, this T2 and T7, and you know the brachial plexus is formed by the T5 here. This is the C5 to T1. Okay, here. So what's happened now? These branches, when T2, T7 ascends upward and few branches passes through the segment here. So the C4, C5, C6 cranial nerve, spinal nerve here. So these branches supply the medial side of the arm as well as the neck region. So that's why the referred pain occur here. Okay, referred pain occur because these branches come from the T1, T2, T7, ascends upward for the cervical sympathetic chain, and from the cervical sympathetic chain, nerve fiber passes through the upper limb, the vasculature of the upper limb, or either the skin supply, says either referred pain occur here. So these are the sympathetic branches, the sensory branches here. Clear? So I think this is all about the cervical sympathetic chain here. If you see the applied importance of the cervical sympathetic chain here, first is this is Horner syndrome occur. Horner syndrome. Okay. What about the Horner syndrome? Look here. This is the inferior cervical ganglia. Inferior cervical ganglia related to the apex of the lung here. So what's happened? Sometimes there is an anomaly or the carcinoma occur in the apex of the lung, and this apex of the lung compresses the inferior cervical ganglia and the nerve fiber which passes through the inferior cervical ganglia, or either from the T1 to the first thoracic ganglia to the inferior cervical ganglia or the middle. So these fiber when ascends upward, they are damaged or the irritated here. Okay, here. That's why the Horner syndrome occur, and this Horner syndrome, there's a ptosis of the eyelid occur, and there's a dryness of the face. Okay, because these sympathetic fiber are damaged here due to compression by the carcinoma of the apex of the lung. So this is the Horner syndrome occur here, and the second is the Raynaud's phenomena. Raynaud's phenomena. What about the Raynaud's phenomena? In the Raynaud's phenomena, here, especially in the upper limb vessels are very sensitive to the cold. Okay, here in the Raynaud's phenomena, especially in the female here, okay? Because due to the blood vessel are supplied by the sympathetic nervous system here, the musculature. Okay, so this sympathetic fiber passes through this ganglia. Okay, cervical sympathetic ganglia here. They enters into the C4, C5, C6 and C7 through the brachial plexus and supply the blood vessels of the upper limb. Okay, so whenever they are the sensitive, too much sensitive, so pain occur, vasospasm occur of the upper limb blood vessels occur. This gives us the ischemic symptom of the pain. So to relieve this symptom here, sometime what's happened here, there's a cutting of the T1 to T3 here. The ganglia are cut here. The nerve fiber which comes from the T1 to T3 which ascends upward for this interganglionic tract, they are cut down here to relieve the symptom, especially the preganglionic fiber here. I told you here, this is the spinal nerve. Suppose this is the one spinal nerve here. Okay, here. And these are the, suppose that the preganglionic fiber here. Okay, preganglionic fiber ascends upward here. And it is supposed to have the inferior ganglia, inferior cervical ganglia here. And the postganglionic fiber start and enters into the spinal nerve. So what's happened the Raynaud's, to relieve the Raynaud's phenomena, here we have to cut the preganglionic fiber in the thoracic region here. Okay, the T1, T2 and T3 segment, because this fiber passes upward and supply the blood vessels of the upper limb. So this is the all about the cervical sympathetic chain. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the today's lecture.